Rude mom blocks truck. See how mad genius gets even. As if moving construction material up a hill wasn't hard enough, now he had to deal with an entitled woman who refused to move her car. He immediately knew that it was going to be a long day. He thought he should call the police, but that alone would take time away from work he knew he had to get done. Then, as the woman continued to dismiss and condescend him, this mad genius had a brilliant idea. That woman was about to regret ever parking there. The construction worker had gotten hired as a foreman for a new house build, something he'd done many times before. The house they were building was on top of a hill, and the only way to get there was by walking up a 250-foot pathway. Naturally, this complicated their work, especially when it came to bringing up supplies. It's not like he had asked for all that trouble. Thankfully, there was a saving grace. 2 official no parking signs had been installed at the bottom of the hill of the construction site, ultimately to prevent anyone who may want to leave their car there. Regrettably, the signs didn't stop everyone from parking illegally. There was an elementary school half a block from the bottom of the hill, and the foreman soon found that parents often made use of those parking spots, but that didn't faze him much until that day. Whenever he did see a parent parked in one of the spots, he didn't say anything as long as there wasn't anyone from the site who needed the space. And if there were, he would politely ask them to move, and they usually would. Most of the time at least. But on the day in question, the foreman received a call from a lumber delivery driver letting him know he was on his way. So he went to verify if the parking spots were free, and that's when he saw it. A car was parked in one of the reserved spots, and he saw a woman was sitting in the driver's seat. He walked up to her window and kindly asked her to move her car. The foreman assumed she was there waiting for her kid to come out of school. As he asked the woman, scoffing, she replied, "I'll just be a few minutes and your truck isn't here. Take a chill pill, dude." And as the foreman processed the rude remark, the lumber truck arrived. The foreman thought that the woman would move her car and let the truck, who had just arrived, park. But all she did was ignore him as she rolled up her window. In awe, he waved at her to get her attention. She rolled her window down halfway and yelled, "What?" This time with an angry tone of voice. The foreman told her her truck needed the space to park, and that's when she said something that left him speechless. "Can't you guys just unload around me? Jesus, it's not that hard," said the woman dismissively. The foreman was shocked by her bluntness, but her remark gave him an idea. He went over to the truck driver and told him to park his truck as close to the woman's car as it could possibly be, parallel to it. The driver smiled, understanding completely what the foreman had in mind. This woman was about to get a taste of her own medicine. The lumber truck was now blocking her side, effectively boxing her in next to the curb. Behind the woman's car was the construction worker's porta potty, and next to the 2 reserved parking spots was another parked car. The woman did not notice as she was too busy pretending to ignore the construction workers she had just forced to park in the middle of the street. But there was just one more thing the foreman needed to do. The foreman called the police parking enforcement department to let them know of the issue. "At this point in time, I wasn't trying to get her in trouble. I just wanted a record of why we were blocking part of the street so we don't get in trouble with the city," he wrote. The officer told him she could be there in 30 minutes to deal with the circumstances. Then the woman's kid arrived, and all hell broke loose. Her driver's seat door wouldn't open all the way as she tried to exit to greet her son. In complete anger, she climbed to the passenger side and stepped out. After she greeted her child and loaded him in the back seat, she went over to the foreman and the driver. These two were holding back their smiles as she said, "I'm in a big hurry. You need to move your truck right now so I can go." But she was in for another nasty surprise. "Ma'am, in order to unload the lumber on the truck, we had to unstrap it. And per our company policy, I'm not allowed to move the truck with an unsecured load on it," replied the truck driver, smiling. "I have somewhere to be," she yelled enraged, as the woman continued to scream obscenities at him. Then the traffic officer who took the foreman's call arrived and parked behind the truck. The foreman, smiling, told the woman, "Can't you just pull around it? It's not that hard." The enraged woman cursed him out and stormed back to her car, again climbing in through the passenger seat. The 3 onlookers couldn't believe what they were seeing as the officer walked up to the foreman and the driver. The woman put her car in reverse and stepped on the gas, knocking over the porta potty behind it. She then charged forward in an attempt to drive over the sidewalk. The woman's attempt to escape her parking jail failed when her car got stuck halfway down the curb. But her misfortune didn't end there. The officer calmly walked over to her and told her to get out of the car. Once she was out, she was handcuffed and made to sit on the curb as the officer called for backup. But she wasn't done being a terrible person. She then began to lie to the officer, saying the foreman hadn't asked her to move and had instead told her she could stay in that parking spot. Knowing she was in deep trouble, the woman tried to spin the situation in her favor, but the officer wasn't having it. She told the woman she had received the foreman's initial call when she refused to move and knew exactly what was going on. The woman was doomed. But the woman's ordeal had only just begun. She was charged with reckless driving, destruction of property, and driving on a suspended license. By this time, the workers had finished unloading the lumber, and the truck went on its merry way. The rude woman's car was towed, and her son's grandmother was forced to come and pick him up while she was taken to jail. But I think next time she'll probably think twice about parking in a tow-away zone if she ever gets a license again, concluded the foreman.